You are tuning in to the Hero's Journey podcast for episode 53 already. Crazy times, episode 53. I'm your host, Nick. So we're looking at comics from the Golden Age. When we left off, we were in February of 1945. So we're going to pick up from that time. So let's get to it. Here are share my screen, and then we'll see what 10 issues from the Golden Age, picking up February of 1945 that I've been reading. All right, so first up is National Comics number 46. So another Barker cover. Yeah, like I said, they're really pushing for this Barker guy. I haven't been reading the stories. I'm reading about the Speedster Quicksilver in this issue. So in this issue, Quicksilver catches a crook stealing radium from hospitals and using his acrobatic troupe to smuggle it out of the country. Quicksilver's not thrilled about that. So there's the title page, the big, huge panel there. Quicksilver, like him. Good story. Simple enough. Next up is Police Comics number 39. Another goofy Jack Cole cover. These are fun and all. They just don't jump out at me for any particular reason these days. But a couple stories I was reading out of this issue, right? Police Comics number 39. So Plastic Man saves Woozy Winks from a night taking revenge on family members, and Woozy is mistakenly identified as the next heir. There you go. So to be honest, these splash pages sometimes I find are almost better than the cover these days. The cover doesn't really stand out, kind of a bit of a silly thing, but the splash pages really have more action, things going on. Usually a bit of some comedy going on there. Love it. And then after that is the Human Bomb story, which I find Human Bomb is actually quite well drawn. Really like it. Look at this title page. It's great. Looks really good. I mean, if you look at the detail, look at his eyes. His eyes are both, slightly different. He's not exactly symmetrical, which you would find, out there in the world, in everyday life. It didn't just draw half a face, copy it over to the other side. I really appreciate that. Right. Art's good for Human Bomb. Like it. That's why I keep reading these stories. It's a good, interesting story. So in this one, Human Bomb is on hand to bail out Eustace Throckmorton once again when his explosive feet get him into trouble. So Eustace fell asleep on some sort of trolley, gets kicked out, and then because they say he's drunk, but he's not drunk, and he ends up causing all sorts of trouble with his explosive feet. Human Bomb's on hand to bail him out. So it's a very similar type of pairing to the Spectre and that Percival Pop, which is no more. We're past that because, we've got the goofball that's always getting into trouble, means well. However, you need the actual hero to bail him out. So that was kind of the, I guess, sort of some sort of shtick that they had going on back in the 40s. It's great. Wears thin after a while. And certainly with the Spectre, I find it didn't work well at all. It was just, it wasn't believable because it was the Spectre. It was ridiculous. Enough of that. I like the Human Bomb story. I'm going to keep reading it. It's great. All right. Sensation Comics number 38. We got a nice Christmas cover here. Look at that. Wonder Woman is Miss Santa Claus. Cool. I believe this is kind of a classic cover. I'm sure a lot of people are aware of this cover. It's no surprise there. Really nice cover. Great colors. Really stands out. So I definitely think it's one of the better Sensation Comics covers that we've seen in a while. So in the first story, Wonder Woman plays Santa Claus and is forced to help some crooks break into the U.S. Treasury. And when I say forced, it's because they're using the magic lasso of truth there that compels whoever's bound by it to obey. And so that's how she was forced. And notoriously missing from this issue is Mr. Terrific. His story wasn't in it this time around, but I believe he comes back for the next issue. But Wildcat is here. His title page here Not very exciting, but whatever. Wildcat is featured in a story told by Stretch Skinner. Stretch seemed like the hero of the story until he gets all mixed up and it doesn't make sense by the end. So this is reminiscent of that Johnny Thunder story that we were reading about in the last, was talking about in the last episode in an issue where it just didn't make sense by the end, and so convoluted. So another, I guess, kind of theme going on in the 40s where try to break the fourth wall and talking to the audience and or the reader, and things get all goofy and mixed up by the end. I don't know, maybe they ran out of ideas at some point. Like, we'll just throw this in because we don't have an actual story. We'll just kind of throw a bunch of ideas together that don't make sense. Hey, we don't have to even close it because we'll just say, it just fell apart because the storyteller sucks. All right, moving on. Star Spangled Comics, number 41. All right, so we got the Newsboy Legion on the cover there with our good buddy Guardian. None of them look very happy. Some sort of witch's brew that they're appearing in. Crazy stuff. So here's the Newsboy Legion splash page, right? And featuring the Guardian. So I'm reading this story because, just to recap, because of the Guardian, I want to see, read about his adventures and see how he evolves, and he features in these Newsboy Legion stories. So that's why I'm reading them. So Guardian and the Newsboy Legion take down a gang that sets fires and wrecks water mains as a distraction when robbing banks. So they'll set fires, right, to make sure all the emergency services are headed to that part of town to stop the fire. But they'll also destroy a water main so that they have a hard time getting water to the fire. And in that case, it's harder to put out the fire. All the emergency services are really pulling together and trying to really take down this fire. Meantime, it's easy pickings over in the other end of town to rob the bank. So actually, fairly clever idea by the crooks. I like it. I'll give them some kudos there. All right, Robot Man. So in this issue of Star Spangled Comics, I got a full version of the issue to read. So it wasn't like last time where I had splash page from this one, splash page from Robot Man, and then the story that followed was actually Star Spangled Kid. So we got the Robot Man story. But again, here's the 1940s goofiness. Robot Man rides a shark to catch up to a yacht carrying a crook trying to skip the country. So he's out fishing. So Robot Man's out fishing with Robbie the robot dog, and they spot a suspicious looking yacht. And the only way Robot Man can catch up to this yacht isn't by swimming with his mechanical arms or doing some sort of motorboat thing to get the motor thing in the water to get their boat going quicker. No, he dives into the water, finds a shark, rides the shark to this yacht. I mean, why not? I know that Happy Days is where the expression jump the shark comes from, but it may have its roots in a story that was much older. All right, after that, Star Spangled Kid. Star Spangled Kid in Stripes C save a professor that has discovered how to grow pearls of any size and color. And the secret to growing pearls of any size and color was is the diet that you're feeding them. Whatever, depending on what you fed them, you could control the size and the shape of the pearls that these clams were producing. Does anyone even care about pearls anymore? I mean, I know that gold tends to feature a lot in these stories, and gold is certainly a commodity that people do care about in this day and age, although cryptocurrency is sort of stealing a bit of that spotlight. But I don't know if anyone even cares about pearls anymore. It used to be a big thing, and are they real? Are they not? Do I care? I don't know. It's kind of like China, China dishes and crystal. Does anyone care anymore? Okay, Liberty Bell. Look at her title page. Big blowing up dynamite. find that the coloring on this one's a lot better than the last one where she was riding the dragon. There was some missed opportunities there for the coloring, but anyway, this if you want to go back, you can. It would be in Star Spangled Comics number 40, but Star Spangled Comics number 41 has this splash page for our good friend Liberty Bell. She catches a couple of escaped convicts that are using forest fires to cover their escape. Now, that's not nice, burning up a forest just to cover your escape. Don't you worry, Liberty Bell will catch you. All right, Wiz Comics as issue number 62. Not the greatest scan of that cover. Is what it is. A couple stories I was reading in this issue. Captain Marvel plays in a band. Very exciting. There's the title page. Captain Marvel plays in a band to help a group get the job of playing for a sponsored radio program after sabotage almost made them call it off. So again, this is, another Captain Marvel story where perhaps not as much depth as there could be. He's using his powers for good, just, run of the mill, everyday kind of good, which is what we all should be using our own powers for. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, this guy's like one of the most powerful guys in the universe. Feel free to, I don't know, maybe pitch into the war effort that's going on, save some lives, but whatever. This was just, I get it. Captain Marvel is just there for comedy relief and to provide a distraction. He's doing a good job. All right. Ibis, the Invincible, and the Duel with Death. So Ibis delays death long enough so that a dying man can pass along the secret to his life-saving drug to his son. So this man's on his deathbed, and he's like, "Oh, I gotta tell my son the secret formula. He'll understand. He's the only one that will. He's on his way here, but but he might not make it in time, right?" So good old Ibis makes sure that he gets there, and death is delayed. If you're looking at this title page here, I love the look on Death's face. It's just kind of silly. Say, "Oh, tee, let's have a duel." I mean, okay, Death, sure. And such up. All right, wow, comics. Number 33. Little Mary Marvel. Leaping, jumping, flying on the cover here. It's an okay cover. I like it. It's just a lot of her last few covers are sort of her adopting similar poses and jumping and flying and this and that. All right, okay. It's an okay cover. I got it. You got the rock gnomes in the background there. I know this because, well, the next on their title page here, Mary Marvel and the rock gnomes, right? Mary Marvel helps some rock gnomes get their home back from some gangsters looking to tunnel under the penitentiary to get free an associate from death row. So some gangsters tunneling under a penitentiary decided to kick out the rock gnomes out of their own tunnel. The rock gnomes were causing mischief for some miners. So Mary Marvel's like, "Hey, what's going on, guys? Oh, we lost our home. Bad guys." Turns out the bad guys were trying to dig under the penitentiary to free one of their buddies from death row. And they thought they could make a killing doing this because anytime someone showed up on death row, they could get paid to just, pull them out through the tunnel that supposedly would never be discovered. That's it for February of 1945. With that, we move on to March of 1945. Now, March is one of the quarters, so there's going to be more issues involved here. Take a little longer to get through, but let's buckle up, saddle in, and buckle up, settle in for the ride. So the title that started the whole project, Action Comics number 82, that Superman fighting an eagle, it looks like, on the front. Lois Lane in his clutches. But the cover doesn't actually have anything to do with the story. Superman battles a water sprite that turns out to be a crooked contractor using cheap materials to build a dam and cover it with fake mystical mischief, right? So he wants to get paid to make the dam with his cheap materials. And then when the dam gets destroyed, well, he can blame it on, "Oh, it was the water sprite causing all this destruction, which is just kind of a silly way to go about it, but whatever. It didn't work out. Zatara is featured in a child's dreams about a mashup of fairy tales. And yes, you see all these on the title page here. You see all these different fairy tales coming together. Like, looks like the Pied Piper, Red Riding Hood, the wolf, the giant from Jack and the Beanstalk. But at the end, you got Zatara winking. Was it really a dream? Did it really happen? Who knows? Moving on to All American Comics number 64, right? Fun cover with Doiby on a horse chasing a chicken. So this is definitely going to be one of the goofy stories. You can tell by the cover. It's stories Green Lantern and a bag of assorted nuts, right? So that's going to have some hijinks there. I have to say, looking at the cover, Green Lantern looks like his feet were drawn by Liefeld. I mean, this guy. I don't know who the artist is. Yeah, not one of my favorites. Clearly, his Green Lantern seems like he's all out of whack. The other guys on the cover actually seem pretty well drawn, proportions, and it's great. Just a Green Lantern looks like he's all over the place. Like his cape looks funny. The colors, his feet, his legs just seem kind of jello-y. Looks like a Stretch Armstrong kind of guy. Now, I will point out on the bottom left where it says fight infantile paralysis. I haven't looked into that. It seems like that was probably a big deal at the time. A lot of the issues, certainly from DC at the time, were promoting fighting infantile paralysis. And I assume by doing some sort of research, I don't know if that was a problem back then, if it was cured, but it features pretty prominently. All right, so let's move on to the splash page, shall we? All right, great. So there's the title page for Green Lantern. Green Lantern is surrounded by mental issues. When a crook is afraid of the dark, Doiby can't drive, and a horse likes to sit on eggs. So all these people have these crazy, rational fears, and it turns out that some of them are pretty easily resolved with Doiby Dickles couldn't work the pedals on his car properly because his shoes were on the wrong feet. Dr. Midnight discovers that a man is being made to believe he committed murder and thinking he's insane because his scheming nephew is playing on his color blindness. So scheming nephew made sure that this guy, he had a problem seeing red. So he really couldn't distinguish red from other colors. So he had a bunch of furniture painted red, and then so this furniture would seemingly disappear. And so he'd trip over these chairs and like, oh, I didn't realize there was a chair there. Oh my God, it must be insane. I must have killed that man. Right? Obviously, that's your next logical conclusion. All Select Comics, number 6, Alex Schomburg cover. I feel like it's been a while since we've had an Alex Schomburg cover, but you got his trademark here. You got the fire guys blasting through some stuff, so it's an Alex Schomburg, obviously, right? Captain America knocking some heads, stepping on someone's face. No, don't worry, Bucky's in there too, smacking a guy with a wrench. I love it. It's great. And you got the Nazis there loading up some V2 rockets. And as we saw, those were invented back in 1944. So now looks like they're into production for the war. Let's see what's going on in this issue, shall we? Okay. Captain America and Bucky go underground, literally, to capture the Japanese agent and his mole men that are destroying war plants and murdering from below. So it's Captain America battles Yellow Claw and the Mole Man. So Yellow Claw was just the bad guy. They got this a woman who's bound on the cover there. I think she's strapped down to some kind of log. Human Torch and Toro blasting through an armored truck, it looks like. Human Torch and Toro recover millions of dollars in diamonds after the robbery of a diamond cutting institute. So apparently this diamond cutting institute houses millions of dollars in diamonds. and the crooks stole them. Okay, our last issue for this episode, number 53, is All-Star Comics number 24. So in this one, you're going to see, so okay, cover looks like they're all watching a movie at some kind of theater. Got a lot of the members there on the front. There's the title page. Okay, so Justice Society of America in this issue comprises of Hawkman, who's the chairman, Johnny Thunder, the Atom, Dr. Midnight, Wildcat, who is new to the team, and Mr. Terrific. This is only appearance in All-Star Comics, only time he's part of the team. And then as well, you have Wonder Woman, who is the secretary. Now, as well, guest starring is the Flash and Green Lantern. Now, Flash and Green Lantern did not get their own story, or because the way they do it is in All-Star Comics is that there's a setup at the beginning, then each member of the team gets their own story, and then they wrap it up at the end, right? They all come together at the end. So Green Lantern and Flash are only there at the beginning and the end. They don't get their own story in between. Same with Wonder Woman. She's just there as window dressing. So it's the other guys that get their own story. So we got Hawkman, Johnny Thunder, Atom, Dr. Midnight, Wildcat, Mr. Terrific. I believe they all got their own stories. And then, let me back. Justice Society of America, aided by the astral being Conscience, travel back to separate times to help a young military draftee see why it's important for the US to fight against Germany and the Nazis in the war. So this was, I guess, this whole issue was to illustrate why we should be fighting against the Nazis in the war. And it's interesting that, I guess, if they made like a movie out of it or some sort of documentary, it'd be great because then they can send it out to show everyone. But really taking all that time out and getting an astral being to send you back in different points in time just to convince one guy, although who knows, maybe this one guy is the guy that turned the tide for the war. Who knows? Who am I to judge, right? And so there's your lineup for the current Justice Society of America as of issue number 24. Bloop. All right. So here is the wrap up of all the issues that we looked at today, right? We got National Comics, Police Comics, Sensation Comics, Star Spangled Comics, Police Comics, Wow Comics, Action Comics, All American Comics, All Select Comics, and All Star Comics. So they all have comics in the title in case you didn't know what you were reading. They are comics, which is great. You do have a bunch of, there's a couple of quality comics, a couple of Fawcett comics, about 5 DC comics, and then 1 Timely. So I kind of want to, I think I know which one would be the one that I would think is the most valuable. I don't know if there's anyone else that can. I'm sure there's no surprises to anyone else as what's going to be the big one. Oh, big shocker. It's All Select Comics, number 6. So because a 9.6 sold in June of 2021 for $26,400. I do not believe this was part of the Promise collection. I believe it was just a regular blue label from CGC that sold for that amount. Now, I do want to say that Sensation Comics number 38 was close. Now, I know we're comparing a 9.6 versus 4.5, but a 4.5 to sell for $902 is nothing to sneeze at. It's almost $1,000 for a mid-grade book. That's a fair price. I assume a lot of that has to do with the classic cover for that book. And I was really trying to compare grades between the All Select and the Sensation Comics to figure out which one really had the highest value. Now, of course, if you have a 9.6, that's going to blow everything out of the water, because it just, for a book that's over 70 years old, to be over like a 9, it's going to be fairly rare, and the prices are just going to skyrocket. So it throws a wrench into the whole thing. So I tried to compare the grades, and really the All Select Comics came out ahead, but just by a nose in the other grades. Like, it really didn't crush that Sensation Comics 38 in the other grades. There was a lot of checking, and I had to, the problem was there's not a lot of recent sales in other grades for both of these issues. You have to go back a few years, so it kind of skews the data a little bit. Anyway, so what else we got here? We've got a couple books that don't have a lot of data on the CGC census, right? We've got National Comics, so 3 on the census. Now, for that one to sell in a 9.0 for $240 seems pretty low. Or 9.0, it's crazy. And especially when you can only find 3 on the census. So you've got the Police Comics 5.0, $71. Also seems low for when you can only see, when there's only 6 listed on the census. And then the WoW Comics, there's only 8 on the census. $69 for 4.5 also seems kind of low. I mean, really, anything under $100 for a mid-grade book from the Golden Age, to me, seems like someone got a steal. And then what do we got? The Wiz Comics, even from March 2020, so a year and a bit ago, sold for $132, 7.0. That also seems quite low. You're getting into the higher grades now for $132. It's pretty good. I mean, there's more of these on the census. And I believe it's Wiz Comics that had the really high print run. So there could be a lot out there, just maybe not as many graded, I don't know. But Wiz Comics is tough, because I believe Action Comics and Wiz Comics were printing something like 250,000 or 500,000 issues in the Golden Age. I don't know the exact print run for the exact time frame, but there were a lot of issues. Like, if you're comparing it to modern age books don't print that many anymore. We're talking about print runs from back in the 90s. In that Action Comics 1.5 sold a year and a half ago for $250. That's a good price. It didn't translate in the higher grades to a much higher to a much higher value, unfortunately. So it wasn't able to compete with Sensation Comics or the All Select Comics. So that's it for this week. Those are your 10. The Timely Book picked it up, but in this particular case, the Timely Book took the crown, but only by a hair. Never know what can happen next, I guess, right? Now, I do want to say that I get a lot of my data, or sorry, information, I guess, from I get the pricing data from Go Collect, and I use Comic Vine to tell me where the characters appear, because that is the one place that I could find that has a list of character. It shows all the issues that the characters appear in. Now, the only hiccup there is some of the issues from the Golden Age, the data on Comic Vine isn't complete. So I'm actually doing my fair share of contributing extra information to a lot of these issues to really add characters that are missing to those issues. So it's great. So hopefully this will, if someone wants to follow my footsteps and read their way through the Golden Age, certainly a Golden Age run of any kind, they'll be able to see, where a character showed up, which issues they were in, like the All-Star Comics and stuff, those kind of things where the characters coming in and out. Action Comics pretty easy. Superman's in there from first issue, and he's there the last issue. So that's, that's an easy one. Fair enough. But when you're looking at other issues, certainly things like National Comics, Police Comics, I found WoW Comics. Yeah, I guess the Fawcett and the Quality Comics, a lot of the data on the characters and their appearances is missing from those issues. So I'm trying to clean that up as I go and really add the information so that it won't be missed, and the Comic Find will have more complete information. I also use comics.org to tell me other information as well. It lets me know when things have been reprinted. So there are some Christmas issues that appear around here that I'm not working too hard to hunt down, because when I look on comics.org, a lot of those Christmas type of compilation anthologies are just reprints of, from all the characters, so not new material. So I'm really trying to just read about new material. I don't need to read the reprints. I've read them already. So I will skip issues that are clearly reprinting older, reprinting the original stories. Now, a retelling of a story I may read, who knows? I'll see you when I come across those. All right, so that's it for episode 53. Thanks for joining in. I appreciate that, and we'll talk to you next time. Take care.